What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock, what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to do some in-depth technical analysis and do an analysis of historical data to give you guys my price prediction for Tesla for tomorrow. I'm also going to talk about what Elon Musk just said. That's very big news for Tesla, as he is talking about how important self-driving technology is for Tesla, and also what happened to a company known as NIO and why this is actually good news for Tesla, believe it or not. Now, before I break anything down about NIO or Tesla or what Elon Musk said or do any price predictions, I got to mention a couple of things real quick. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Don't take any of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed 6 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000, and you can always sell these 6 free stocks for cash and use that cash to buy some Tesla shares for free in this limited time offer that ends in just 2 weeks. So please check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So looking at Tesla, clearly this thing is up about 5.48% for the day. It actually did better than I would have expected for this after this FOMC meeting. I want to actually talk about what happened during the FOMC meeting that's so important for the markets. So looking at this right here, the Fed has hiked its benchmark interest rate, also known as the federal funds rate, by 0.75 percentage points, which is the biggest increase since 1994. Once again, the 75 basis point rate hike, which I did talk about in my previous videos. Now, this is going to be huge for the markets, at least going forward, because it's showing that there are going to be instances where the Fed is even more hawkish than anticipated. Now, Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Fed, also talks about why there is this increase, because he mentioned that the data made him do it. It's not that he wants to cause a recession. It's not that he wants to hurt anyone or any jobs, but they have to try to preserve as many jobs as possible in America while simultaneously combating inflation, right? And he did talk about how the projected unemployment rate may actually kind of increase over time with these projections, but we don't truly know what's going to happen in the next 2 years. He also talks about how during the next FOMC meeting, which is going to be in July, during the next one, they're most likely going to raise the federal funds rate again by either 50 basis points or 75 basis points again, but he isn't sure yet because it depends on what the data really confirms, right? So it's most likely going to be one of those two. We don't truly know just yet. And he was very calm. He was very calm, cool, and collected. He really calmed the market down amidst all the chaos that was going on. So that kind of did contribute to the market actually performing quite well, even though something kind of bearish did come out. So I want to talk about how this may affect the markets and Tesla from a historical standpoint. So even though we're very excited, we like to see the markets kind of pushing up, the SPY does have this gap that may end up getting filled, but there are two ways of actually looking at this. So if I bring up the daily candles for the SPY, for instance, and let's actually look at historical data from the FOMC. So the first major move that they made this year was on March 16th, 2022, and they gave us the 25 basis point hike. If we look at March 16th, where is it? Right over here, right? Right here, this was March 16th. That's when we got to this hike. And I can actually draw out a vertical line for you just to make this as clear as possible. So right here on this day, when the market was already on this downward trend, Jerome Powell was like, oh yeah, we're going to raise the federal funds rate by 25 basis points. And then the market actually rallied because a lot of the damage was priced in. It wasn't even that bad. I mean, 25 basis points is very, very low. And as a result, right, the market started to rally. We got a green day. We started to rally, which was pretty fun. I remember that day was pretty fun. And then going forward, we could actually move to May 4th. Okay, May 4th was the second time they made a major move, and this is where things become interesting. So what essentially happened was, after we got the big run up, as soon as we started like the month of April, the market started to kind of drop and drop and drop as we approached May 4th. And what happened on May 4th was this. Let me actually put another vertical line. So this was the next FOMC meeting. And Jerome Powell ended up announcing a 50 basis point rate hike. And this is a very similar situation to where we are right now. And I believe we may see similar moves. So what happened was the market was dropping, right? The FOMC meeting comes and the market actually rallied on that day. The market pushed up pretty hard. Then the next couple of days, next few weeks, the SPY went from being in the 430 range all the way down to 380. And then after that, we pushed up a little bit, got that temporary relief bounce, and we pushed all the way down to about 370, right? We pushed down very, very hard. And what's interesting is now the FOMC meeting starts and we have a bit of a bounce, right? The market kind of pushes up a little bit. The SPY is up about 1.43%. So historically, when this happened, we actually continue to see more downside in the future. Now we do have all these gaps in the SPY, so it's possible we actually push up a little bit more before we drop, or we're going to just keep dropping, in my opinion, after the news that came out. We are anticipating more of these rate hikes for the future, right? The economy is not in the perfect state, but Jerome Powell did talk about how there is still growth in our economy. It's not necessarily just dead, it's still strong, and it's capable of actually withstanding a lot of these rate hikes, which are necessary to actually bring down inflation. Now, how would this affect Tesla? Well, I know the chart's kind of messy because I have all these support and resistance levels. I apologize for that, but I want to talk about two key zones, okay? Two very important zones. Let me actually use the 2-hour candles if that's more clear. So what you'll notice is Tesla had this gap right here, this big gap, right over here. And we actually filled the gap today. That took us all the way up to that 696 range. I didn't actually expect that to happen, but it happened, so that's very good news. And then the next very, very key zone would be another gap. It's a little bit hard to actually see exactly where it is because you'd have to zoom in way more. But even though it's a little hard to see, there is actually a tiny gap right here at 718. So there's a tiny gap around that 718, 719 range, which means that Tesla may actually push up to 720 before getting a potential rejection, or we're just going to get rejected from here. So those are essentially where I'm standing right now. I do think we're either going to push up to 720 and then fill the gap and then get rejected, or we're not going to push up that high and we just get rejected from here. Those seem like the two most probable possibilities, and there's no real way I could really predict this with 100% accuracy, because historically during the FOMC meetings, if we're in a bear market trend and the market starts to just rally a little bit going into the FOMC, the next day typically we start to drop down. And I do think that that's actually a little bit more probable because historical data suggests that, but I wouldn't count out the gap fill up to about 720 just yet and say it's impossible. So how should you trade this? How should you be looking at this? Well, you want to watch tomorrow very, very carefully, okay? If Tesla starts pushing up, and we actually closed at 699, up 5.48%. So if we push up, we're going to have a little resistance at 700, which I think we could easily break past, but we are a little down in the after hours, so that could be a bearish signal, but I wouldn't count on that just yet. So let's see how this thing reacts to 700. Could we actually push above it? If we start pushing to like 705, 706, and we start going and going and going, and the SPY shows good volume alongside with the NASDAQ and Tesla, this thing is most likely going to push up to about that 720 range, the next key level of resistance. And for my opinion, I think around this range is where we may get a rejection. It's very probable that could come. So be on the lookout for that 720 to 730 range. Now, if that doesn't happen, if we're not going to push up anymore, we already found our top, just like what historical data suggests, and we're set to start dropping starting tomorrow. Look out for that 680 range. Key support is right there. And if that doesn't hold us, then we're most likely going to drop all the way down to that 650 range. So be on the lookout for that. And remember, if 650 doesn't hold, 733 to 730 is the next key zone, followed by 620. But we haven't tested that for a couple of days, so I'd like to see how this really plays out. So let me just draw this out real quick on a day-to-day basis scale. Then I'm going to show you what's more probable in my predictions. So what I'd like to do is, and I know some people kind of think it's kind of weird for me to use 5-minute candles. I just do this because I could show you the whole chart instead of it being too zoomed in. So when it comes to the more meticulous price action, there are two main possibilities that I'm essentially seeing. The more bullish possibility would be we actually slowly see a bit of a push all the way up to this zone. And this zone would take us to that 720 to 730 range, filling the gap. And typically when we fill gaps like this, we actually get a rejection. So maybe we could actually hold in this range for a little bit of time, and we may end up kind of slowly just trading sideways and maybe starting to drop just a little bit, but it is possible for us to close a little bit in the green, just like this. So to me, this would be a little bit more of a bullish possibility. I mean, I think us just rallying all the way up to like 750 or 780, that's very unlikely. It is possible, but it's just so unlikely considering that we just got this big rate hike, right? And a lot of people were anticipating downside. Now, what's a more bearish possibility? And I think that, excuse me, you could argue that we already found our top around 707, and you could argue that we're set to see some bearish price action now, just like what happened back during May, as we were in a downward trend, followed by a bit of a push during FOMC, followed by even more downside after. So we had the FOMC meeting, we got a nice push up going into it, and typically what has happened is some downside. So you could project that we filled the gap at around that 700 range, and we're set to see some downside after that, and Tesla might slowly start to descend throughout the day. I mean, I wouldn't say it's going to be super violent, since a lot of big institutions might want to hold us up, but be on the lookout for these ranges. We could actually close a little bit lower. We may even go as low as that 650 range, get a bounce off that, maybe close around that 660, 670, something like that. So that would be a little bit more bearish, but that's more based off what data suggests. So which do I think is more likely, a nice push to the upside or this downward trend? And as of right now, you'd have to watch the chart to determine this and be more certain. So be prepared for either one of these possibilities. But historically, we do often drop after we get a increase in the federal funds rate, at least a higher rate increase relative to the previous one. So this is more likely, in my opinion. It is more probable for us to actually start dropping soon. And I do think that, considering we are a little bit red in the after hours, it might be a sign that we may start to actually descend a little bit more. So that's what I'm predicting on this one. Like I said, it's very difficult to really predict this perfectly because anything could really happen. But I do believe in either possibility, there will be more downside followed by what just came out from the FOMC. So be on the lookout for more potential downside, as that is more probable over the next couple of weeks, in my opinion. With that out of the way, I also want to talk about what Elon Musk just said, because this was reported, I think, during an interview. Elon Musk says that solving self-driving is the difference between Tesla being worth a lot or nothing. And that's a bit of an exaggeration, but I actually agree with his point here, right? So what this means is that, look, Tesla, what it's worth right now is nothing compared to what it could be worth if they solve self-driving. Okay, that's the easiest way for me to put it. That doesn't mean that it's worth nothing right now. I mean, it's worth a lot. It's a massive company. It's worth hundreds of billions. But what we're saying is, if they actually reach this point where they solve self-driving technology, it's not just a big innovation for the world, for the big audiences that they're reaching, but also for AI as well, because self-driving technology involves the development of AI. And to me, that would be an extremely bullish catalyst, as Kathy Wood has stated that self-driving technology is going to be a multi-trillion-dollar market in the future. There's a massive demand for it. I mean, believe it or not, there are different opinions and theories about it. Some people don't even like it, and I understand that. But at the end of the day, the facts are the facts. It's going to be a massive market, and if Tesla does kind of master this and they develop it very well, it's going to be huge for the company. It's going to really push that market cap up, and the share price will soar, in my opinion, if they could really, really develop it well. Now, I also want to talk about what's going on with NIO, because NIO just announced that they launched the new ES7 model. It's a very, very nice car. It has a 485-kilometer range as of right now. It is a little bit pricey for now, but it's still a very fantastic car. I mean, it has very strong acceleration, a very good design, and so on and so forth. And a lot of news outlets are now saying it's a Tesla rival, this and that. And yeah, don't look at this as a bad thing. Look at this as a good thing, because it's competition that really drives athletes to become their best selves. It drives companies to become even better as well. And this in turn is showing a development that's accelerating in EV technology and AI technology too. So to me, to see this happening, it's going to push Tesla even more to be better and compete even harder. To me, I don't see this as a bad thing. I don't see having rivals as a bad thing. To me, it's positive news. And I really think that Tesla is going to take advantage of this and really push themselves to develop even better products. Now, the way I want to end this video is, look, okay, the market is choppy. It may be kind of capricious. It could be very difficult to trade sometimes during states like this. I understand that. But you have to never quit. And you have to look at this as another opportunity. That's the best way to ever look at the market or what you're actually seeing, because nothing is really good or bad. At the end of the day, there's always an opportunity somewhere along the way. So if the market goes up, right, just to make this simple, you can make money on the way up quite easily by buying shares, by selling puts, or even buying calls. If it starts dropping, if the market starts dropping really hard, what you could do is you could sell calls or you could buy puts, right? For different stocks out there. If you don't want to do it for Tesla, I understand, but you understand my point. There's always opportunity. And if you don't know how to trade, if you don't want to trade, more and more buying opportunities for the long term will come, not just for Tesla, but stocks all over the place, especially those small to mid caps, and also for crypto. I do see big moves coming in the next couple of weeks to the downside. So good buying opportunities are coming. Be on the lookout for that, in my opinion. And I will see you guys in the next one. Tesla to the moon, and peace out.